We have done step one, which was to rough up the palette just a little bit, but not too rough. You don't want to have deep grooves. You just want to have the shine buffed off just a little bit. That was in the first video. This is now the second video, and I'm going to only do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different paints, which I'm calling this a limited palette. The reason I'm only doing 7 is because it saves money for those who are just getting started. Maybe they're a brand new beginner and they're just getting started with pigments. It's important that you buy a pigment that is professional quality paint. All of these are professional qualities, and you don't want student grade paint. One way to know that they are professional quality is each tube costs a different amount depending on the size, the brand, the country it comes from. And the reason it costs a different amount is because inside the tube there are different minerals, and depending on the mineral it costs a different amount. Now if you go to the store and you see all the different colors, I don't know, 50 colors, and they all cost the same amount, say they're cheap and $5 a piece for every color, the same price, $5 each, then you know that that is not a quality brand paint, that it's student grade. Student grade meaning it doesn't have the minerals in it. It may have some other form of product in there, maybe even ink. I'm not sure, each brand is different. But you want to have a brand, the paints where every brand is a different price depending on the minerals. And you can find that online. I have a handout that's on my website, and you can download this and print it, and it goes over all the different colors. This is 15 different colors for this set. If you're taking my online class, you can use this set or any set you want. I'm just showing you this one as an example. I'm right-handed, and so I will end up with my paint when I'm painting my painting here, and my palette will be sitting over here. I will end up getting my paints, then I go to the wells, then I go to the painting. Now if you were left-handed, what you would do is probably turn it upside down, and you would actually use your left hand and you'd get your paint, mix your palette, go to your painting. This is the only well that's a larger size, and because it's a larger size, I purposely set it up to where my ultramarine blue, whether it's French ultramarine or ultramarine blue, either one, it doesn't matter, but this is a big well, and so I'm going to use ultramarine blue here because it's the color that I use the most. Everybody's different, but I mix a lot of things with the ultramarine blue, and so I end up having to refill this one color more than any other color. So I'm going to use, since I only have one big well, I'm going to put that one there, and then I built all the other colors around that. The way I chose where to put these colors, everybody does it different. Sometimes artists group them by the earth tones versus the other colors. Sometimes artists group them by warms and cools. I purposely set it up to where my ultramarine blue would be here, and then the very next color I want is burnt sienna, and it could have gone here or here because I use my ultramarine blue and burnt sienna more than any other color to mix my darks. So I wanted my burnt sienna next to my ultramarine blue, and everything else really didn't matter to me other than I'm going from, say, light to dark, and I'm purposely going in the organization of the color wheel. So this kind of throws it off a little bit, these two, but everything else is kind of into the colors of the color wheel, going from yellows to greens to blues this way, and then back to reds. Okay, so let's try doing this. I purposely took some sticky notes, just some plain old sticky notes, and I wrote out all my colors, and then I just cut them with the scissors, and they're stuck in here. There's a little sticky side. That way I will not put paint on accident in these different wells, because later I'll come back and fill these in my next video. This video is just for the limited palette with just the small amount of paint. If you are new to watercolor painting, then you may want to put just a little bit in each one. And I have some pliers that I got, I think they were $1 and at Home Depot, and I could make it wider or narrower depending on twisting this, and I absolutely love them. I keep them in my little toolbox of art supplies. That way I can just get that lid and take it right off, loosening it. Now if you're new to painting, you may want to just put a little bit in here like this, and that's all. But I know I paint a lot. I paint almost daily, and so I will fill up my well here. And then I just scrape it across the back. I'm going to show you what I do so that I'm using all my paints. I use this, and I only want one with the metal. They have some that have plastic in here. You don't have to have this item, but I love it and I use it all the time. But I want one that has metal because I really use it a lot, as well as I roll it all the way till the end pops off when I'm completely out. But I'm through with that paint now. The next one I'm going to put in is over here. I'm going to check my list just to make sure. Which is Red Rose Deep. And it's right next to the Vermillon or Cad Red Light, either one. I happen to have a tube of Vermillon and I'm out of Cad Red Light, so I chose Vermillon. Either one is fine. Cad Red Light is probably more used, widely used by artists than Vermillon, but they're both very good. So I fill mine up, scrape it on the end. And make sure my lid is on just right. I don't really tighten it down too much because then it's hard to get off. I just find it I put it back in the same groove. Now I'm going to skip this one, which is the next one, and then I'm going to go to French Ultramarine Blue. I bought a big tube this time because I go through it so much, and I keep a little bitty sample tubes that I pick up different places. The sample tubes, I keep them in my set. That way if I run out, make sure this is clean in here. That way if I run out, I have a little tube to refill. Now I'm going to go and make sure the very next one is Burnt Sienna, Maimeri. I was at a conference once, and the vendor for, I used to call it Maimeri Blue, it's from Italy, but she corrected me and she said it's like Maimeri Blue. So I learned that, and I think about her when I pick up the tube because I remember she's very sweet and very very nice to tell me, because I do want to pronounce it correctly. It's popping. It must have a little bit of air in there. All the lids are a little different. I don't care for this lid as much. It kind of looks like a Reese's candy. Also tend to like this big lid because the inside you can stick a brush down into the tube. I like that a lot more. Okay, so now the next one I have is Yellow Ochre. Normally I don't use this brand. In fact, this will be my first time to try this Yellow Ochre brand. I have it listed here as any brand. And you can also, Quinacridone Gold by Daniel Smith is another one that's very nice. This is popping too. It must have some air in the tube. One thing you can do is if you take your lid off and you're worried that it's going to squirt out, what you can do is pull it down this way and it will pull it into the first of that groove before you take your lid off if you think it's too tight. Okay, I'm going to skip these two, and now I'm going to go to Hansa Yellow Light. It's the same, some people, some different brands call it lemon. I need to take my pliers to get this lid off. It looks like this is a big lid, so it looks like I've got to open these up. The one thing about the Hansa Yellow Light, as well as the Red Rose Deep. These are both from DaVinci, and they represent the same exact color as a printer. And you know, a printer uses the 3 colors and black, and it can mix any color. It can print any color from that. So if you used these 3 and a phthalo blue, which I don't have phthalo in my set. I don't really care for phthalo as much. It tends to be a screaming color, but some people really love it. But those 3 colors, Red Rose Deep, Hansa Yellow Light, and then the phthalo blue, all by DaVinci, represent the printer colors. Okay, so I'm skipping all these and going down to cerulean blue. That's my last one. This has a nice lid. I like the way it is easy to turn on and off. And there we go. How fun. I love doing paint. I love filling up a new palette. I'll need to buy a new tube of that for next time. If it was at the end of the tube, I mean completely at the very end, I literally roll it until I pop the tube off, and then I take my palette knife and scrape it out before I throw it away. Okay, this is what I call a limited palette, and it's just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colors, and we can get a lot done with 7 colors. So if you're brand new to watercolor and you're a beginner, you may want to try just these 7. You may want to try a little dollop of paint instead of filling it up. It's up to you. But this paint goes a very, very long way. It's not like acrylics or oil paints that you use up so quickly. It goes a very long way. This will last me a long, long time. Now I leave the lid open. I don't shut the lid because I don't want all these paints to stick on the lid. So I'm going to leave this open as many days as it takes. I hope you enjoyed setting up your paint set.